the curator model is good when you have kind of way to access to various different assets, and then that might be even off chain, right? Like the AI agent can actually have a legal representation.
Do you think that you can kind of push the needle towards this movement happening more broadly within like the big players?
Have you seen a standard that has really stuck out to you and says, yeah, this is something that we know is going to stick around. We're going to build around this particular standard.
Welcome back to The Roll Up.
This is your home to learn from the biggest guests, the brightest minds at the tip of innovation.
Our goal is to help spread the collective knowledge of everyone in our community.
We are breaking crypto out of its echo chamber and taking it to the real world.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy it. Welcome back to AI Supercycle, our premier AI show, airing every single week, presented by Near. We cover the ins and outs of decentralized AI, privacy, and the future of this massive technology.
Near is the blockchain for AI and the execution of AI native apps. You can check out Near's latest AI product at near.ai. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Guys, welcome to
Looking
AI
sharp.
Supercycle episode 12. We've got the Black Dragon calling in from the layer here, the private layer himself, which is a undisclosed location because we're all about privacy here in this world. Near AI has just dropped today. Illia, the marketing is amazing. Can we talk somewhere private? I hate to tell you, Illia, this is not a private call. We are public. We are live right now. Good to have you, man.
Yeah, no, we've been cooking, so it's great to be here to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just some context, right, Rob? Last 6 weeks, I mean, we saw Zcash went on this insane run. Privacy really came back into the zeitgeist of kind of the general kind of crypto Twitter population, and just more broadly, kind of like this return to fundamentals ethos that we've been pushing on the show. Near Intents facilitated a ton of the Zcash bridging in terms of actually getting assets from Bitcoin, ETH, Solana into Zcash to be able to actually buy Zcash. The volumes went through the roof, revenues as well. And then you guys had been working on this Near AI chat product, this private chat product. So it feels like all of the perfect time for Near. Man, how has it been the last 2 months at Near, Illia? It feels like a lot of things are coming together.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like a lot of stuff we've been building for the past like year and a half is actually like all coming together and really like starts to gel. So really excited. There's actually more things coming in next few days to a week. I'm not gonna drop too much alpha, but a lot of exciting stuff there. But yeah, I mean it's just like teams are gelling. We have intents are firing in all cylinders. I think momentum is like insane. It's like there's a PMF, people are willing to pay for it, and it's getting integrated everywhere, and kind of really like the vision of like, hey, this is going to unify liquidity, plug everything together is really there. And so now it's like, hey, what else can we build into this, right? And how else it can leverage now AI and real world assets and other things as well. And then on privacy, as you said, I mean, I feel like in the crypto circles, privacy always been like an important aspect, but generally it kind of like not been talked about. And so I've been talking about like the importance for AI for your data. Like you cannot own your data if it's not private. Like if you're giving it to third parties, to Googles, to Apples, to OpenAIs, like you're not owning it, right? You actually sign off the terms of service. In many cases, Google, I think, just released that they're training, or it was reported that they're training on your Gmails. You should probably go and opt out from that. You need to opt out explicitly. So that's what's happening, right? Like all your data that you give in is effectively been used in some way by this company. So privacy is paramount, and kind of money is one. One aspect of that, data AI is, pretty big, fundamental another.
Yeah, we were just talking about this Gmail Google training model, and it came up in the context. Andy and I were both looking at the same email. We were thinking about a response, and it was like, wait, there's a one-click response right here. And it was not just the canned responses that they've had for a long time. It's like, wait, this response is actually pretty good. That was the surface level. The deeper level is, wait, the reason why it's better than it always has been is because they've been training on the millions of emails that we've had in our database for going back that long.
Yeah.
Pair that with what we're seeing from ChatGPT, they're training not only on our data, but then they're going to start serving ads based on those prompts, based on those responses, and embed those directly into the responses that we see from ChatGPT. All of this was helpful to ultimately provide the value proposition of a private AI. And you guys have capitalized on that near AI. Talk to it like your doctor, talk to it like your lawyer. And the litmus test for this has always been, look, ChatGPT has said, we're going to share, if the authorities come to us, we're going to share the data with the authorities.
Yep.
The idea here is, even if you guys wanted to, and I'll frame this as a question, but let's say an authority came to you and they said, hey, this person, we know they've been using near AI. We're going to serve a subpoena, or we want access to this person's records so that we can understand how their criminal mind was working. Would that be an instance where you could give up that data? Would you give up that data?
So for near AI, for this product, we cannot, we don't have any access. All the AI inferences, right, they all end encrypted with the specific GPU hardware where that runs. And effectively, even even with access to hardware, you cannot decrypt it, and it's all kind of in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think the context here, the general trend is that the people have been far more willing to provide different AI services with more and more information. Like, as you get used to using the product, you become more and more kind of acclimated to actually giving this product a ton of information. And so today you guys launched AI Cloud and private chat. And so these are kind of like two separate things that work together within this lens of understanding this kind of growing human behavioral trend of using LLMs in these more intimate ways. What is AI Cloud, private chat? How do they come together in the lens of this growing user adoption of AI?
Yeah, so AI Cloud is really the developer tool, right? It's an infrastructure that any developer can use to leverage private inference, and verifiable inference. And we're going to be adding more things to that product offering. And so, for example, Brave has integrated near AI Cloud into the Brave browser. It's right now nightly. And effectively, when you talk, you can choose near AI provided in your Leo AI in Brave. We have OpenMind, which is a robotics company that's building a robot operating system. As you can imagine, having a physical robot at your home that is effectively listening at all time, looking at all time what's happening, you really care about privacy at that point, right? Probably don't want to, you and your boxers continuously streamed to some third parties. So that's a really great use case. Anything effectively touching sensitive information, but also just like a day-to-day, live mic should probably be private. And so that's for AI Cloud. And so AI Chat is really just private chat is product built on top of this, right? So this is just our demonstration of how you can leverage the AI Cloud to build products and have all of the privacy features. And so, I mean, obviously it's open source, and so people can build on top of that, or we expect, there's a lot of kind of ways to expand this now to add more functionality with now private MCP servers, with memory, etc. So we want to explore that as well. Imagine now you are, for example, right now, OpenAI is like, hey, allow us to access your email, right? Your AI will be better, but now OpenAI has literally, access to all your emails, and even non-maliciously, right? There's accidentally issues can happen with this, but it also includes, if there's any kind of leak or anything, all of the data will potentially leave. Versus in our case, you can actually run the MCP server itself in the same kind of verifiable private infrastructure. And so now your AI can have access to it and only it, and nobody else can get into that as well.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. Like we can actually keep expanding and adding more privacy verifiable services on top of this, and really make your AI also smarter and better, have more context, be able to actually do actions on your behalf, be able to manage private keys as well, right? Because, this is something where you actually care about privacy and verifiability as well.
Yeah. So you're wearing your Jensen Huang leather jacket today, and part of this near AI cloud is using Intel TDX hardware, as well as Nvidia confidential computing hardware, where data is processed in this kind of sealed, isolated environment. So that's kind of the AI cloud. I'm curious, like, what, from your perspective, using this high level commercial grade hardware, what is the biggest unlock from combining actual privacy at the hardware level with the on-chain guarantees that you get using the private chat product? What is the unlock there that is novel about this launch?
Yeah, so first, like, effectively, this confidential computing hardware mode is only been around, let's say, a year. Some of the recent updates that were needed only came out at Nvidia GTC this year. So all of this is very kind of new, and the reason why we haven't seen this as much. But this layer of hardware allows you to effectively run computing, AI model inference, agents, etc., in a way where that nobody was able to access what's happening inside. Even if somebody's running that computer, they cannot actually access through just inspecting processes or whatever what's happening there. Now, that on itself is only a part of the story, right? I'm, as a user sitting on the other side of the planet, how do I know that computer is running? How do I find it? And how do I encrypt my data for only being able to decrypt it inside there? And then how do I manage my context, all my history? This is where our kind of near chain signatures, which is effectively a multi-party computation system, comes in, allow you to effectively manage, do the key management, provisioning, all of those things in a trustless way as well. So you're really combining all of these pieces, both hardware security and cryptographic security, as we allow more and more parties to join. The payment for the hardware providers will be done on the crypto rails. So really combining all these pieces together.
Hibachi is fast and private perps trading, secured by ZK with Celestia underneath. Go to hibachi.xyz to start trading today.
Not your keys, not your coins. From the team that pioneered cold storage, Trezor has just released its new wallet. Guys, if you are still using hot wallets in 2025, 2026, you are missing the entire point. Secure your coins. Get a Trezor at trezor.io.
Halliday is unified crypto payments. Give your users more wherever they are. Go to halliday.xyz to never write a smart contract again. Yeah. And it does feel like there's a lot of things that Near has been building for a long time that are starting to come together. Another pretty significant piece of this is $7 billion that has moved through Near Intents since you guys have launched that. That helped unlock this whole Zcash movement. Give us a sense of how these things ultimately come together as you're thinking forward. I also saw that, just recently put out sort of what you're aiming is that soon private AI chat will have Near Intents integrated. This will allow for some interactions across Web3, but then you also said Web2 coming soon. Could you give us a sense as these things start, continue to develop?
That's that alpha that was previously mentioned.
So yeah, can you give us an idea of what this might look like as these pieces continue to develop on their own and then ultimately come together?
Well, I'm laughing because it's literally a tweet from 10 minutes ago. So
we're live.
Yeah,
baby.
we do our research.
Real time.
or you're reading Twitter while interviewing previous guests. So. So here's maybe a couple year vision, right? And then we can work backward. Couple year vision, I think more and more of our interaction with computers, with phones, with our devices is going to be AI facilitated, right? Because AI will know so much about you. You won't need, go and click for stuff. You won't need to go Uber, enter an address or copy paste it from the calendar or whatever, right? All of that will just automatically done. Like it knows you have a meeting, it'll get you a car. And so how does it work? Well, your AI is, the brain obviously needs to be private, needs to have all your context privately, needs to be able to predict and reason and do all those things. This is why, by the way, just local doesn't work, right? You need this background intelligence that's running there that's able to consume all this information. That's why we need this kind of decentralized confidential cloud. Now, whenever it knows what you need, right? Let's say you need a taxi to airport, or you want to get some food that's healthy and will make sure you have energy for the next meeting. It will effectively issue an intent saying, hey, I'm looking for this kind of food. You get different providers. It scans, evaluates them, chooses the right one, and then does a transaction. Right? All of that is happening on a potentially on the background, or maybe it comes back to you and says hey, confirm this exact interaction. But intent is effectively the language that AI is talking to other AIs or service providers to really get to the agreement and execution across the internet, right? And you can imagine this not just for consumer use cases, but also for real commerce businesses where hey, we need to deliver steel, like the solver comes in and says, cool, I will be able to procure it from a mine, get the shipping containers, get the port allocated, etc., warehouses rented, and insurance, and I will get a loan for the float of the money while this is in transit, right? Like all of this package, boom, you get like a full package, 5 like RWAs effectively packaged into a single NFT that you can deal with, right? So that's kind of where all of this is going. And so intents really right now we're proving it out on the simplest thing, which is crypto. Crypto is simplest because it's the simplest to verify, right? We have all the kind of easy tools to verify it. We have chain signatures to really manage assets across all these chains. This is why, indeed, with Zcash, it was kind of really powerful because it was very easy to kind of integrate and start get it going and make sure it's trustless. And now, going forward, intent starting to really connect into Web2 service providers, right? Be that travel, be that food, be that transportation, but actually also just any API, right? Like, hey, my AI needs weather report, my AI needs this and that. Right now, if you're trying to do this, I was actually trying to do something and I needed a price in my Google spreadsheets. And I need go sign up for another API provider, get the API key. It's super complicated, right? My AI should just be able to figure it out, not needing to register for anything. Yeah. So that's an intent infrastructure. And then AI and they all work together. Agents effectively are solvers on the back end. And we already have some of these examples where some agents are effectively running and solving intents on the financial side, but you can see this expanding to more and more use cases.
Yeah, and Illia, will your AI travel with you? Like when you're filling in, let's say it's a Google Sheet, is that going to be your AI that you're kind of bringing from service to service, traveling, whether it's on a local device or it's kind of omnipresent across all of your devices? Or is that Google's AI, right, that is filling in the Google Sheet? It's going to go have to communicate with other agents. How do you see this interoperability working?
Yeah, I actually think you're gonna have a one AI that's yours, that similar how wallets work. I actually think Web3 kind of front run this shift. Traditionally, you have a service providing your software. You come in, you register, and you use it. Web3 said no. Actually, you come with identity, and developers push software to you, right? So smart contract kind of lives there, and you can call it. Front ends in theory can actually just be fetched and run on your side. And so I think same idea happening here, and we'll see this already with again, kind of how we imagining with AI Cloud, right? You can actually have developers build services, MCP servers or agents that run on users' context and information inside this private enclaves. Right? And so this way, as a user, you don't need to share information with third party, with developer, right? Their stuff comes to you, right? That can be just AI model, or it can be a full AI service and agents. And so then your AI effectively travels with you. It has all the context. It knows everything about you, and it's able to still communicate with other people's AI, other companies' AI, or some other autonomous agents in this intent architecture, where effectively it's some kind of transaction, it's some kind of counterparty agreement.
Got it. And you're on mute.
Yeah, if we think about wallets in as a similar analogy to like how we'll use AI in the future, kind of across multiple applications, multiple websites and things. When it comes to how we're generating actual like yield using agents, I think you guys introduced this, or Near 20 introduced this agentic yield concept that I think is relevant to the private chat as well as relevant to kind of like what Rob's getting at here. How do you see agents then reshaping yield across DeFi over the next year or so? Whether it's I want to use Near private chat to go and do strategies on chain, or if it's just embedded into my wallet within the lens of that previous point. How do you kind of see this agentic yield and this AI agent yield kind of concept coming about?
Yeah, I mean, it can come from both directions, right? It can be that you instruct your AI to effectively like, hey, every hour go check, what's the best rates, where the best things are given my risk tolerance, and rebalance and reallocate. And so that you can actually, again, Near Intent is a great platform to do the execution of that exact system, and we have something interesting coming on that side. Now, the other side that is similar is, we've seen this with Morpho, right? Has been a lot of like kind of curators which may not been managing risks very well. And it's really just opaque from a blockchain perspective, how it's actually working. And so you can imagine actually curators being AI agents, autonomous AI agents. And so they're very transparent, you know exactly what they are, right? There's the prompt and the data feeds, etc., all verified, auditable, but they run inside Near AI Cloud, so they're verifiable and private. So because you don't want to reveal the decision that they make when they allocate things. So this was the example we had launched called Mindshare Agent, which was effectively using analyzing Twitter sentiment about different assets and rebalancing portfolio around that. So you can have kind of this coming from both directions, and it will depend really. Like the curator model is good when you have kind of way to access to various different assets, and then that might be even off chain, right? Like the AI agent can actually have a legal representation, and it can go and actually get like real credit from bank or whatever, or invoices, there's travel insurance, etc. Yep. Like all of those things like can be packaged and then provided as a yield. Or your AI agent, which is more about being personal, about understanding your needs, like, hey, I'm spending this much per month, so I need to like withdraw that to pay my bills, like all of those management, like your AI agent your AI assistant effectively will be doing all of those actions and kind of reallocating between different curators and different assets.
Yeah. Okay, then so that's kind of like the DeFi crypto native version of this. When we zoom out to, because I know you're extremely well connected in kind of like the traditional AI space as well. So I'm sure you've, talked to a lot of your friends about this product launch and now that it's out there. So kind of zooming out from like the Web3 world, but into the more kind of like broad space here. I guess very bluntly, like, does anybody care about this private AI stuff outside of like us, like cypherpunk kind of people? Like, how has like Silicon Valley, San Fran type people reacted to this? Do you think that you can kind of push the needle towards this movement happening more broadly within like the big players? Just let's kind of have a more holistic conversation about the state of affairs outside of crypto.
Yeah, so great question, and this is why we launched with few different like non-pure crypto or non-crypto at all clients, because that was kind of, we wanted to validate this. And as I mentioned, I think there's few aspects where this is extremely needed, right? So robotics is one, legal is another one, because they literally have the confidential and privileged that they need to deal with, and right now, some of them just like set up their like local models and do stuff on their local computer, which the model quality is really bad, and also you cannot share. Like there's a lot of challenges with that. Finance, like non-crypto but actual finance as well, they have a lot of like actual limitations on how the customer data can be moved around. So again, like if you want to do something more than just like ask basic questions to AI, but actually analyze the internal data, that's highly valuable. And then interestingly, governments. Every government outside of US wants to make sure they don't depend on just US for the AI. And even between departments in a government, imagine there's a government department that's IT and government department that deals, for example, like police, right? Well, police doesn't want all of their information be available to some employee of the IT department, government. Like they have no idea who they are, right? So, like in general, it's extremely valuable for kind of enterprise government use cases, and then for users, I think it's a nice to have for sure. It's not like, hey, we're gonna change our behavior per se, except for the slice of users who are on Signal, those kind of people, which we are, and then that's why we're partnering with Brave. We're partnering with like applications who are really bringing this kind of experiences forward. Now, medium term, it's about building better product. As I said, to me, privacy is an enabler where we now can kind of allow users to connect all kinds of data, all kinds of access. Again, you as a company have internal databases that you individually have access, but you probably weren't going to give it to a third-party software. And so that is really where the opportunity is. Like, hey, look, this is as if you were running stuff locally. You can now give access to tools like to databases, to your CRM, to your emails, to all of this information. Now your AI is way smarter. It can do a lot of actions on your behalf. You can like set up background, update processes, etc. Which again, for example, we're using CRM. I don't trust that CRM provider with my email. Like my email is too sensitive, right? As a CEO foundation. And so like I'm missing on all the features of the CRM being able to track my meetings and stuff, for example, because of this. And so like you kind of need this type of tech to really kind of integrate all of the different aspects of your life, really, and kind of trust with there's medical data, finance, your crypto balances, etc. Like all of this can be integrated in one.
Yeah, for this to really work, that's how it has to happen. And one of the foundational pieces of this technology stack, obviously there's the privacy point, but there's also this model that is feeding the responses and doing a lot of the work underneath the hood. And I'm curious how this works when you're training a model that is still private. Like the Near AI private chat uses Xi or GLM 4.6. This is different from like Llama and Meta and GPT and like all of these other models that are on the more centralized platforms. Where did this model come from? Could you give us just a little bit of history about what makes this model special, why you guys chose to use it for Near AI, and how it helps enable privacy?
Yeah, so we actually have we have 4 models available in the chat. You can use DeepSeek 3.1, Qwen, GLM, and GPT-OSS, which is OpenAI's open source model. So you actually have an options, and the idea is to be able to support more and more over time, including we want to support third parties being able to upload their models. So if, for example, OpenAI and Anthropic want to upload their model, we guarantee that it's not going to get decrypted, right? It's going to always stay encrypted at rest and then only gets decrypted inside secure enclave. And so there's an idea actually that this is a better way to monetize, maybe not for those big players, but for smaller players who may not have enough capacity to do to provide inference services and to deal with users' data and do all those things. Like this is actually a way for them to serve models to users. The reason why we picked this models, I mean, this is actually, set of best open weight models right now in the market. And we've been kind of updating as things change. Generally we use open weight models. We're working on some improvements around like tool calling and a few other things too. But right now relying definitely on the open source community.
Cool.
I mean, In that lens, Illia, if you're talking about a better product, right? Not just the private aspect, but a better product. There are tons of kind of wrappers where you can choose whatever model that you want to or you can get the result from 3 models at the same time. If you're thinking about from the better product lens to get this thing adopted outside of, let's say the Signal type people or the CEOs of foundations, like what is required for you guys to do that? Like what is on your product roadmap, or what are you thinking about from the product perspective to make it a better product? Because there are just kind of like these model aggregators that exist. They may not be private. So you've got a private model aggregator here, but what is required to really make this better than what's already out there?
Yeah, so we have a few hypotheses and we're testing them right now. So that's an important part here is like, a lot of it comes from the users and, we can only hypothesize. But, personally, I think it's a combination of improving memory and context management. So right now, outside of, probably only OpenAI, honestly, everything else has, very forgetful model. It doesn't really know much about you. OpenAI done a pretty good job at like really extracting a lot of the background context, and then providing it to the next messages. So I think that's a big part. And again, the benefit here is like we can connect to more data sources. And so we can actually get a lot more context and keep it private for you. Now, that goes into the second part, which is really enabling to connect to more tools, to more MCP servers, to more kind of external information. And so that's really about kind of, MCP server support, which would in turn enable a lot of things like actually using crypto. So for example, we do have near intense MCP server, and so your AI can actually start doing those actions. And there's like few other interesting product kind of ideas we have around how to display the outputs, etc., to really enable kind of better. Like I think in a lot of cases, the people use text as an output, which is not always the best when you actually go in. Like, for example, trading. A lot of people like, oh, I want to say, buy me $100, but in reality, nobody really wants that. You want the trading UI, right? And so you kind of want you maybe want to start with like, hey, I'm in the trading mode, but then you want actual like UIs, like charts, etc. So there's like a good mix and match of UI and kind of text and tools that needs to be working together. And again, this is where potentially like relying on open source community to be able to build those let's say skills or plugins and really surface them would be very valuable.
Looking for yield that stands out? infiniFi gives you just that. Deposit stablecoins and earn far more than the current savings rate. infiniFi is a battle-tested, reliable DeFi platform that is ready to go. Head to infinifi.xyz.
Yeet is built for big moments, the most fun you'll ever have with your crypto. Go to yeet.com to yeet into your next game.
Trade on anything: economics, weather, sports, crypto, and more. All on Kalshi.com 24/7 for the world's biggest prediction market.
And so the idea is that you kind of open up this this platform, almost make it permissionless. Maybe there's some gatekeeping that you guys can do initially, but you allow this to be a platform where you can encrypt these other models, and then you can help people route and move between these things. We've heard a lot about X402 and MCP and these different models or these different standards that can help connect models together, ultimately use a lot of these things at our fingertips, but use it more efficiently and seamlessly coordinate across these different things. How much weight do you put on these? Have you seen a standard that has really stuck out to you and says, yeah, this is something that we know is going to stick around. We're going to build around this particular standard. You guys creating your own standards. What do you think is the trajectory for these things?
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand that, yeah, there's very different levels of the stack, right? So MCP server is really just an API kind of standard for AI to call. I mean, AI can figure out without this, honestly, but it did become kind of standard. And so now in AI, the thing is like there's actually a really interesting referential loop, because as something more people use it, it's more in the training data. It actually just becomes like AI gets better at using it. So that's probably like for MCP already happening. X402, I think the 402 itself is a very useful primitive, right? So 402 is the HTTP code, which was not used historically. It was there for like last 20 years. And now we say like, hey, let's use 402. So that's a conceptual idea. We were part of the X402 launch, and kind of as near intents as well. We have a demo how it works. I think there's like more work needed to really improve this. But I think directionally, like the 402 as a concept, where effectively in the HTTP request, you can establish a session and pay for it versus go and sign up for API key separately, like that's extremely valuable. And so I think that's going to be a part. And then the intents is, again, flipping the script where instead of saying, hey, I need to call this API, to call, hey, I need this outcome. I need weather for Lisbon for tomorrow. And somebody says like, cool, I'll provide it to you for whatever, a microcent. So that's where 402 can be used. And so intents plus 402 plus MCP, all of these things really working together. That's kind of where we're going with this.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Illia, as we kind of come to a close here, thinking about the kind of effect of where we're headed with private AI, privacy as a concept near the protocol. You guys have had some also interesting protocol updates, things like cutting inflation by half, these types of general ideas. There was this L1 debate yesterday with Hasib and Santiago, and talking about what the valuations are, and people are going to be wondering how a lot of these products that you've developed, including the Intents product, kind of retie in back to near the blockchain as well as near the asset. For the community out listening today, kind of how are you thinking about 2026 as a year of kind of reigniting near the chain, near the asset, and kind of participating in this more pragmatic crypto environment, let's say, that we found ourselves in, the return to fundamentals environment here? What do you have to say to the community who have been alongside Near for so long? And we can kind of come to a close here.
Yeah, I think I mean, obviously at the end it's all supply demand, right? And so indeed we had a halvening of inflation, and so reducing the upcoming supply, the future supply, and then all of these efforts, one way or another, driving more demand. Think of it as like the decentralized confidential cloud itself is going to use Near as kind of a fee structure underneath. It is a profitable business with 20, 30, 40% margin depending on the efficiency of the inference. And so that kind of generates surplus of Near from what it provides to validators. Similarly with Intents, right, there's actual revenue being generated. It's more complicated because there is actually, because the way the different UIs use it, it's not as kind of visible right now. Like we show the total fees paid by the users, but the actual revenue, like we're working on how to display it properly, because there's some agreements with some of the front ends, because they want to charge a fee, and so like there's a little bit of just like different structure. But I think one thing I want to mention, given your always return to fundamentals, there is actually an interesting comparison. Let's say let's say there's 100 parties that pay $10 million in fees. This is one model, and you take these fees and you buy back the token, and you burn it or you just keep it. Or you can imagine the same parties actually just end up buying the token directly instead of paying the fees, and maybe lock it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, etc. Economically, the same amount of Near or whatever, a token was taken out from supply for at least some period of time. But now you have this 100 parties super aligned with Near, right? And their fees are zero. So from a competitive perspective, they actually going to choose this product versus another product which will have non-zero fees.
So we're gonna
So-
we're gonna force token we're gonna force people to be token holders as a result of using this awesome product.
This actually sounds a lot like AI companies in the mag set, like these larger AI companies that are trading token stocks for compute.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, there is something about that where, like, there is a value in having your customers to be token holders
Yes.
instead of them just directly paying. And so one of the things we're working on is proposing some of the dynamics around that for near token, where we want more near token holders who are getting value out of all of these products we're building.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, simple. If you stake some amount of near, you have private AI inference, up to some limit for free.
Yeah.
Like those kind of things. Now it's like, hey, there's a value in holding near, and then maybe your fees are reduced when you're trading, so like you're actually getting more and more benefits from doing that.
Yeah. Last thing for you, Illia, from me, we actually had a really good conversation yesterday with Sal Ternello, the CEO of Sovereign, who is building out the current near treasury company. I think the largest or the only. And basically, in that conversation, we spoke about how because of the acquisition of such a sizable quantity of the supply of a given asset, in this case, he was speaking about up to 10% of the total near supply. You become a large, shareholder, stakeholder, and contributor to the network, almost like a separate labs corp. We were speaking about how there's this labs and the foundation because of the regulatory, body, and now you've kind of got like these third entities who are like, Tom Lee now owns 4% of something or of ETH. And, now Sal is going to try to get up to 10% of near. How do you think about this dynamic when it comes to these treasury companies, when it comes to them owning, a substantial portion of these networks, and then hearing their opinions, acting on them, keeping them as happy as possible, et cetera. How do you think about this, either with near and Sal, or just, at large?
So I actually think this is something I've been thinking a lot about when this DAT's starting to come out, and I think that is actually the most aligned third party to the ecosystem, right? It's actually more aligned than even Foundation from like a structural perspective, because it effectively means that their market cap is directly attached to the value of the token, and they can go in and like their fiduciary duty is to maximize their market cap, right? So like foundations, for example, don't have that as fiduciary duty, right? I mean, obviously, like some foundations are very much looking after that, but regulatory environment, etc., it's been hard to even go and say that. But the DATs actually don't have that challenge. They are very much directly like, hey, we're a public traded security. Our market cap directly depends on market cap of the underlying token, and our fiduciary duty is to maximize this market cap. And usually the executives are incented directly with the equity of the company. So now the challenge with DATs has, been that they mostly been just like a kind of hold and maybe stake type vehicle. And so what, with Sal, the exciting thing is really like, hey, we have, a really executive team that can actually build interesting businesses in this that, generate surplus that they can reinvest into buying more near, or they can reinvest into providing more GPU compute to the network, which in turn will get them more near, right? Because GPU compute gets paid in near. And so the idea is like, hey, look, this is actually value additive to the ecosystem. They can build a business, but this business is like, normally if you build a business, your goal is to maximize the business. So you're going to go and do other stuff, other ecosystems, whatever. Here, it's very directly like, hey, but at the end goal is to maximize value of the token. And so from this perspective, it's actually a better structure than even foundations. And so, it's pretty exciting. And I'm excited to working with Sal on keep growing near.
Yeah, Sal was great. One of the more active approaches, more intentional of driving value back to the token holder because of the incentive alignment, like you said.
It sounds like you're in a crime scene over there, Illia.
We're looking for you.
That's because I talked about maximizing value of the token. like immediately.
Oh man, Illia, man, thank you for spending some time with us today. Have a great evening, and congrats on the big launch. It's been awesome working together, seeing you guys grow. It feels like this has been the perfect time for not only this show, but for all the pieces that you guys have been putting together from Near's perspective. So props to you guys, and return to fundamentals, man.
Thanks for having me, and everybody should check out the private Near AI.